Yes.
Ready as we'll ever be.
Right, I have 7 o'clock. I ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Before we get started, in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. Is there any board comment before we get started tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I guess. I didn't know exactly the title. I want to say it's great to be back here. And all day when I was coming up here after being gone for 2 years, the only thing that stuck in my head was saying that just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. So, but I do want to thank all the voters who came out. So it's a good news, bad news situation. I want to thank the 423 voters who came out, and thank you for exercising your right. It was great seeing. I was there most of the day, not the whole entire day, but it was good seeing people come by. And of course, the bad news is there was less than 5% of the voters, even though there was a contested race. And for the school committee budget had a lot of attention, a lot of spotlight on it this year, so I was a little bit concerned that there wasn't more involvement for people choosing who's on the school committee. And that's been a subject that just goes on, trying to get people involved and stay involved. But I want to thank everybody for their support, and it's good to be back here. I also want to thank the people last night. Last night was the community kickoff for the Dementia Friendly Lunenburg at the library, and Keith Lanzalotti, who is the chairperson for Dementia Friendly Lunenburg, had hosted that event. Sue Doherty was there. Obviously, it's very closely in conjunction with the Senior Center. We had people from the Mass Council on Aging from the state. We had Representative Stephen Hay, a representative from Senator Tran's office, and somebody from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. It's a great program. It was a great presentation of a really important program that's really fairly new to the state, but really new to Lunenburg. And it really is aimed at helping individuals and families deal with family members or themselves who are going through dementia, and how to be a supportive community. And I want to thank everybody who was there for that, and I look forward to a really good launch of that program beyond last night. So, thank you.
And then my only comment would be just welcome to the new member and to you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, I'd like to welcome Michael Ray and to welcome Mr. Alonso back. It's great to have you with us. I am looking forward to moving together in a positive direction and getting things done together through compromise and a willingness to see each other's positions. Let's go.
And I'd like to also echo some of Tom's comments and thank the voters of Lunenburg for the opportunity to be a member of the Select Board. Certainly, Lunenburg is very important to me as a community. I've been a part of this town since I was a child, moved away and came back, and certainly is an honor and a privilege to sit here in front of you today. I also want to thank and my fellow board members for the work you guys have all put in the years past, and express that I look forward to working with you guys and compromising in a professional and respectful way over the course of my tenure here.
And just like to thank both Tom and Michael Ray for joining us and volunteering, and as well as all the other candidates for all the other boards and committees that were elected. It's great to have volunteers coming out and helping the town.
We couldn't do it without them.
Exactly. Is there any public comment from the public? Mr. Passios.
Dave Passios, 56 Whiting Street. As you know, you see me up here quite often. Most meetings I have some comment to make. This evening I'd like to welcome the two Board of Selectmen that have joined the board as of tonight. and just remind you of some of my comments that I made over, or ask you to think back to some of the comments I made over the past 6 or 8 months, and please sit down, starting tonight, and get to work and get something done. Find common ground, whatever it takes. This town needs a group of leaders to move us forward. Secondly, as a member of the Memorial Day Committee, I'd like to remind everybody that the Lunenburg Memorial Day services will be Monday, May 27th at 10 a.m. at Veterans Park. We have a little bit different ceremony planned this year we've decided to change things a little bit, but some of the normal traditions are still there. So come out 10 o'clock and we'll have coffee and refreshments afterwards.
Is it
Thank
rain
you.
or shine?
It is rain or shine. If it's really heavily raining, we'll move into the senior center. Thank you.
It's important in this weather.
Anybody else for public comment? Okay, with that, are there any announcements?
No, none. But Mr. Passios covered the Memorial Day ceremony on Monday.
So we'll move into reorganization of the board and take motions, and I'll speak a little bit out of turn here and be the first to nominate Tom Alonso for the position of chair.
Second.
Is there any other nominations for the position of chair? Okay. Any discussion?
No, you beat me to it.
I'd just like to say that Tom had been a valuable member of the Board of Selectmen in the past and a chair previously, so I think he did a great job then, and he'd be the perfect person to lead us moving forward this year.
I agree.
I agree.
Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any nominations for the position of vice chair?
Sure. I would like to nominate Phyllis Luck for position of vice chair.
Second.
Okay. Any other nominations? Perfect. Any discussion? Okay. Do a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. How about the position of secretary or clerk, whatever?
I'd like to nominate Katie Adams.
I'll second that. Thank you, Phyllis.
I'll second that because it looks bad if the person second.
Just in case.
Any other nominations for clerk?
I'd like to nominate Damon for clerk.
There, second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I mean, be happy to serve in the role. There's not a lot of responsibilities to it, except you're third in line if everything goes downhill. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be third in line. Feels like a
If
step in the
everything
direction.
goes downhill, you have to add that at the end.
so we'll take the vote on both of them, but we'll take them in the order that they came. So all in favor of Katie Adams for clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Or I guess we don't need to do opposed, but all in favor of me for clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
It's aye for myself. Okay. So that is the reorganization of the board. We'll move into, we don't have any appointments, but
No appointments tonight.
interviews, reappointments, and resignations for other committees.
This is just on the agenda as an announcement of resignations from Mark Lucier, Hannah Anderson from her 3-year term position, and George Martin from the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee appointing committee met and appointed Dave Passios to a 3-year term, Peter Beardmore to a 3-year term, and Hannah Anderson to the 1-year term.
Do you need any ratification from us or just?
Nope.
Okay. So next is town manager report.
All right. The public meeting on the parking walkability for the Main Street and Whalum area is Saturday, June 1st at 1 p.m. And the meeting location will be Town Hall. Update on the Summer Street Road reconstruction project. Paving to the binder level is complete in the Lunenburg section of the project. The contractor is currently raising drainage structures to binder grade. Pulverization of the Leominster section of the project is scheduled to begin on Tuesday, May 28th. The contractor is aiming to have the Leominster section paved to binder grade by mid-July. The installation of granite curbing in the Lunenburg section of the project is scheduled to begin the week of May 27th. And granite curbing and concrete sidewalk installation will continue throughout the summer, progressing from Baker's Brook Bridge towards the Leominster line and eventually continuing into Leominster.
Can I ask a quick question? Is there any idea when this is going to be done?
Sooner than anticipated. They're ahead of schedule on the entire project, but
So,
I haven't heard an update on a projected new date for completion.
So will it be done in this calendar year?
I can find out.
Okay.
I don't want to answer without.
Okay.
Yeah. I received notification last week that we were awarded the Recycling IQ Kit grant that I applied for. We will receive up to $20,000 to use for printing and outreach costs, to pay staff and provide curbside feedback on recyclable materials. We will also receive up to 40 hours of technical assistance from our Mass DEP Municipal Coordinator, Irene Congdon.
Thank you so much for getting that. That's a great thing for us.
You're welcome. I'm excited to see the results of the program itself. So,
Some towns have
impact.
really reduced the amount of contamination
Contamination.
considerably. Great.
Education and Enforcement Coordinator Grant. At last week's meeting, I reported that there is a new grant through Mass DEP that provides funding to municipalities to hire an education and enforcement coordinator to provide education and enforce private hauler recycling requirements. In order to be eligible for this grant, the town, through the Board of Health, must include certain requirements in the hauler regulations that would require bundled recycling and trash services. Our Mass DEP recycling coordinator, Irene Congdon, and I met with the Board of Health last night to discuss the process to meet the grant deadline of June 12th. The Board of Health voted to proceed with the process, and we'll be having another meeting before June 12th to discuss the proposed changes that will be provided by Irene Congdon. Update on electric and gas contracts. The town's energy broker, Tradition Energy, went out to bid and received bid prices for both electricity supply rates and gas supply rates to go into effect December of 2019 for a 3-year term. Our electricity supplier will be NG, who is our current supplier, at the rate of 9.425 cents a kilowatt hour, and our gas supplier will be Sprague, and our current supplier is Direct Energy, at a rate of $5.19.
Is this an increase or is it the same?
The energy rate is, electricity rate is an increase, but the gas rate is a significant decrease. So
Oh.
overall, it's a wash for when we looked at what the effect on the budget would be.
Do you know what the rate was before for electricity?
It was, I want to say 8.745, around there.
Okay, thanks.
I can get you the exact number.
Thanks.
I was contacted yesterday by the Department of Housing and Community Development about an earmark that was requested by Senator Tran's office in the fiscal 19 state budget that was evidently included, but we were just made aware that we received it. This earmark is for the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrade of the older section of the Eagle House. I will be working with town staff, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and our legislators to either complete this project this fiscal year or request our legislators request to continue this appropriation until fiscal 20.
Great news.
So that was for $25,000.
Thank you, Senator Tran.
Great.
Yes. We had our department head meeting today, some updates from that. The DPW director reported on the progress of the Summer Street Road reconstruction project. The DPW crew is busy with the paving season and regular maintenance in the parks and facilities. The library director reported they are beginning the summer reading program that will include both kids and adults this year. And an author who walked across America who wrote Walking to Listen will be hosting a talk on June 30th at the school auditorium. The Friends annual book sale will be on June 1st. Local artist Anne Marie Phelps will have an exhibit at the library on June 8th. And there will be a program celebrating the 50th anniversary of Woodstock on June 15th. The police chief spoke about cruise night on June 12th. And the chief also reported that the portables received through a grant will be deployed soon to the school. The fire chief is working on ordering a new ambulance and pumper truck. The ambulance has a lead time of about 6 months, and the pumper truck has a lead time of about 8 to 9 months. The ladder truck, which was ordered last year as part of the fiscal 19 capital plan, should be received by the October-December timeframe. The IT director reported that one of the staff members is out due to a medical issue right now, which causes a backlog with the IT department. The IT director also reported on an upgrade to the cemetery department that they're receiving right now that moves all their data to the cloud, to a cloud-based system, and the upgrade is going well. The IT director is working with the DPW director on a project at the town beach to install a tablet that will allow for logging in and out for employees at the town beach. And it will also include having Wi-Fi access. And if there's enough bandwidth, the Wi-Fi will be available for the public as well there. Land use, the planning board will hold what is expected to be the last meeting on the O'Brien Homes special permit. And the planning board will be beginning their review of parking calculations and solar regulations in June. And the land use director is also working with the Parks Commission on town beach passes to be purchased through the online e-permitting software. Council on Aging director has been working with other members of the Memorial Day Committee for Monday's ceremony, as well as their normal programming activities at the Senior Center. Gordon Eads will be back again for another talk at the Eagle House on June 18th. Public access, the cable manager reported that they are up 4% in the amount of programming they are doing this year compared to last year. They'll be filming the Memorial Day ceremony and graduation. A new community news program is in the works, and a program from the Secretary of State's office about the 2020 census will be airing on public access as well. The treasurer collector was unable to attend due to being currently short-staffed with an employee out on medical leave. In order to keep up with the demands of the office, the treasurer collector's office will be closed to the public on Tuesdays and Thursdays from the hours of 5 to 6 p.m. This is a temporary measure and is especially vital at the end of the year and closing, and with the annual audit beginning in June. Our next meeting, department head meeting, will be combined with an employee appreciation lunch in June. And this is a tradition started last year.
Before we go to the next section, may I ask a question? With land use and the e-permitting for the town beach, this year, is it going to be operated as it typically would be to get your passes for the beach, since that's up and coming, or do they anticipate a change within the next few weeks?
I'll have to check to see where they're at in the process.
Okay, because typically sometime in June is when people get their beach passes and sign up for swim lessons. So I just wanted to make sure when we talk about changing it, we also let people know how to
get them.
pursue forward with beach passes this year.
Is there a time when people can be at the beach without passes? Before it's open for the season? Or
No,
is it
it's just you have to get your beach pass, and you can get like a family pass. And in order to sign up for town swimming lessons, you have to have your pass first as well. It's all very affordable, but it has been in the past. I haven't seen the updated information. So I think since it's almost June, maybe by next meeting, we can let people know what the plan is for this year. Because it would be nice to be able to purchase them online, but if that's not until 2020, we'll make sure that people know that it's business as usual.
Yeah. I know they
Mostly
have a meeting next week.
Okay.
Parks Commission.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Town facilities, the town hall, the very last phase of the mold remediation project will be completed by June 30th. And that is to seal the stone foundation to eliminate excess moisture and the ability for rodents to get in all the cracks and crevices, which we're all very excited about.
Yeah.
Revolving
Rodents aren't so happy.
Out of home. Revolving Museum. I met with Superintendent Burnham yesterday to continue our discussions about the Revolving Museum using the cafeteria space at the TC Passios and working with the school's art and English programs on potential projects. As a follow-up to Selectman Adams' question on whether the TC Passios building has any hazards that would keep it from being used by the extended day and early learning program, School Facilities Director John Londa replied that the TCP does not have any direct hazards that would keep it from being used. He did comment on the presence of asbestos in the floor tiles and cove base in all areas of the building, so it is important to keep a floor finish on tiles so the dust is not created. The floors will be sealed with this finish before moving into any classroom space. The building was inspected in April of this year by an environmental and engineering service company as part of Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act compliance. The formal report has not been received at this point, but should be received within the next 30 days. Water testing was done in June of 2018, which identified areas that had high lead content from fixtures at the Passios, that the cause is due to water sitting in them for a while. Retesting in these fixture locations that had high results will be done in June of 2019. Most of the classrooms had new faucets installed around 2005, so it is believed that the issue is water sitting in the fixtures and not the fixtures themselves. There will be a requirement for building occupants to do a 30-second flush at the start of each day to ensure that the water will have acceptable levels of lead and copper. In regards to the items identified in the Vertex report, the facilities director had the following to say. The fire alarm panel and sprinkler system both have significant issues because requirements have changed since they were installed. While they are operational, they do not meet current code. Asphalt sidewalks on the sides of the building are in very poor condition. These serve as the emergency exits from the classrooms. Minor repairs to the worst aspects of the sidewalks can be done, but eventually these need to be completely replaced. The electrical system is beyond its expected lifespan. This is likely a $300,000 upgrade that is needed. No expected work will be done until the building gets a renovation. There's no Anzal system in the building, and the kitchen is not in service. In a renovation, a decision will need to be made on how much money will be invested in the kitchen. No work will be needed until then. The roof was installed in 1986 and has passed its expected lifespan. It was reseamed in 2012 to be able to extend the roof life of 5 to 10 years. There are 3 leaks that have defied resolution, one in the gym. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
One in the gym, one in the admin area, and one in the mechanical area. These are not catastrophic issues with the building, but the building needs a major investment in order to meet current expectations for comfort, life protection, ADA, security, and to provide for long-term use. Meetings. Relevant department heads and I have a follow-up meeting with Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, Sherry Bean, on Thursday, May 23rd, on the parking and walkability study that MRPC is conducting. I will be at the Massachusetts Municipal Management Association Conference on Thursday, May 30th and Friday, May 31st. And there will be a staff training on Tuesday, June 11th at 9 a.m. at the library put on by the Alzheimer's Association as part of our path to becoming dementia-friendly community.
So is the conference in any place fun?
Chatham.
Oh, nice. Good for you.
That's all.
Okay.
That's all I have.
So, well, our current business, first item there, kind of runs in parallel with our old business. It's reviewing the timeline for finalizing the FY20 Board of Selectmen goals. Just to remind everybody one last time, the previous year's goals were to review the present and future maintenance and capital replacement of all town assets, to improve public satisfaction through community involvement and public outreach, and to increase alignment with committees appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So one of our first orders of business this year will be to select new goals for this year and whether or not we're going to carry over any of the ones from last year. Did you have a suggested timeline, Heather?
Yes, so
Just
one
looking
of
at
the
our meeting load.
items, So if we're going to keep with a workshop schedule that the board has had in the past, I would recommend that the June workshop be a goal-setting workshop, and potentially June 11th, if that date works. And so that would provide another meeting as carryover to finalize before July 1st with the goal.
Okay.
Okay, so 6/11 and then finish it up on the 18th. Okay, great.
Then, next item of current business is to review the schedule of upcoming meetings and agenda topics to build on that last item.
Yes, and there's just a document titled same as the agenda topic. And there's just some things coming up on the horizon that topics for June mostly. So town council will be attending our June 4th meeting to discuss litigation cases in executive session. And we'll also be present for the special event permit discussion.
Can I ask a question? Are we going to have the executive session before the meeting or at the end? At the end, okay.
That's what's proposed.
Okay.
Follow-up from the annual town meeting, Article 37, for the board to negotiate and enter a pilot agreement at 190 Electric Ave, for 190 Electric Ave. That would also be on the June 4th meeting.
Now, at that time, will we be able to get the figures so that we know, we can tell that the town's not receiving any less taxes over the period?
Yes, the model that's provided by the regional assessors group shows the potential tax revenue, but also then shows what the pilot payments.
And so it will be clear that the town doesn't lose any revenue as a result of it. It's just shifting of revenue.
Right.
Okay, great.
It's
So
all
we will
it's
have
all
a report.
projections.
We will have a report from the regional assessor.
Yes.
Great.
Annual appointments to boards and committees also takes place in June. So to start those off at the June 4th meeting, and then if there's any remaining, they can be taken up at the June 18th meeting.
So just, because I always bring this up after the fact each year, what is our reappointment process going to be? Does everyone still fill out a form that we're, like an application to stay on, or?
I think Elaine's already sent out notices to all the people who are up for reappointment if they're seeking reappointment.
Do we have that list so that we're
Not in the packet tonight, but.
okay? Because I agree with Damon. I feel like every year this comes up, and then we say there's a better way to do this. We don't create the better way, and we just go forward with the way that we
Such a
identify
quick
as
hit after
bad.
the election, it seems to get forgotten about. But and my other follow-up question was, are we going to ask them to come to the meeting, or are we just going to?
Yeah.
I would like to ask them to come in and start to create a process over them. They're really important positions, and I don't think people realize there's an opportunity to seek the position, because a lot of times they're just automatically renewed in a way that is probably better to make it aware that they're available.
So
What
you
night
would-
was that?
June
It's coming up
4th.
pretty quickly,
Yeah,
June 4th.
June 4th would be the night that we reappoint everybody?
potentially, unless you want to delay it
When do we have to reappoint it?
by the end of June.
By the
So,
end. So it doesn't have to be done,
no.
completed by June 4th.
So it would, if we were going to invite people, it would be good to give them the option to come June 4th and just see if we can get everybody in by the 18th.
How about going back to the point about, do you want them to refill out applications?
Well, I have a twofold thing for me. Part of it is it'd be nice to at least make that point of contact. It was one of our goals for last year to realign ourselves with the boards and committees we appoint. It'd be nice to get them to come in, and I know that some of them fill out some information, comments on the reapplication form, but it'd be nice to, certainly if anyone wants to come in and talk to us about their experience or what we can do to help them, that would be, at least provide them the opportunity, the invitation to do that. Or if you want to take it the next route, to the next level and require them to come in if they want to get reappointed. I don't know if we want to go so far as to do that. That's another layer of it. So just opening that dialogue is important to me, at least giving them the option to come speak to us if they want to.
It'd actually be nice if they either appeared in person or sent something in that said, this is what I've accomplished during my time, and this is what I look forward to accomplishing. Here are the ways the BOS could help me or our board, so something like, so we get something.
Well, I think when we first established it, I agree with the idea that we should get feedback. But I think the reality is, if you look back at all the years that people filled out the reappointment form, I'm not sure we got any constructive feedback. People say, what are the things that you're doing? Well, we're doing Conservation Commission stuff. Just choose one, right? And so I don't know. While I applaud the desire to get that information, we don't, because it's volunteer, there's no necessity to get the information, and people don't necessarily do it. As far as appearing, I think it's always great if people come before us. I wouldn't personally require it, but I think it's helpful to people communicate what their experiences is. The more we can get for their experiences to make it conducive to other people to want to do it, I think that's beneficial. I just don't think that if you require somebody to be here or you require somebody to fill out the form, you necessarily get that information.
Right.
I think in the effort to get some fresh ideas, though, and I'm going to have to second with Ms. Selectman Adams, and I think that we may want to have an opportunity to kind of present these as vacancies, and that way other people in town, one of the things that I think are so important is the town website now has, dialogue, or not dialogue, but it has summaries of what all the different boards and committees do, which I think is a great improvement. But there may be people who just learned what some of these roles are, and may now want to step up. So I would support that. Maybe we should delay the June 4th meeting, the June 4th appointments to the meeting and the 18th, and then use June as an opportunity to get the word out that these are there, and for the people seeking reappointment to provide, I agree with Tom, maybe they don't need to come here, but some kind of either invitation to appear or a written kind of summary of what they're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, I would agree with Selectman Jeffries that, to me, not so much hearing from the person who's there and has experience is something that I think is valid, but the lack of awareness that the opportunity for other people to join in exists every time we do this. And so we just are basically like, we don't even have the list and the people generated to us yet. It would be really nice to post a reminder every year, whatever the process be, to put in a talent bank form, or just so everybody knows if they're interested in these positions, they're now available. Because our positions on elected boards, everybody knows those become available. If people are interested in something like Conservation Commission but don't know how to get on or what the process is because it's not an elected position, I think there's an opportunity to educate, inform, and to seek participation.
Yeah, for sure.
So just to be clear, would the board like to advertise these as vacancies, like we do when any opening comes up, but also notify the people who would be potentially
Well, sure, it
be
doesn't want to see
reappointed,
alarming where somebody thinks they're being
that
removed.
we're doing
Yeah,
both,
right,
we're
right,
advertising, but we would like you to come in.
I'd say it's time for
just-
reappointment, and at a reappointment, oftentimes, people are simply reappointed, but this is an opportunity for other people to submit an application if they're interested. I mean, something that's non-hostile.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
advertise it as a vacancy, because again,
Yeah,
we
that's-
appreciate our volunteers very much. We don't want to
Right,
seem like we're
right.
kicking them out the door. But if, notify people that they're up for reappointment, and certainly welcome anyone who wants to apply for the role to do so. Maybe if we could get no response, but if people do respond, then I would notify the person who's currently in the position that somebody else has responded to their position, and maybe they want to come talk
That
to
we've,
us.
talent banks we'd have already received? I'm just not clear.
Right,
How we-
right. It's
Do we have some we've already received?
Do we have a backlog of them?
Backlog? Oh, wouldn't call it a backlog.
Well, do we have any of
Backlog meaning even one.
I'd have to check with Elaine.
We
to
should
see.
know that, because if anybody's sent in a talent bank form with interest on something, they absolutely should be included in the process of, maybe we don't want to call them reappointments, but it's time for the appointments.
That's why I wanted
Yeah.
clarification. So we're just using existing talent bank forms?
No, I think it should be advertised as an opportunity.
I would agree with that.
I mean, it's kind of a
Let me-
short
I don't know.
soaking time,
Let
but
me propose something, just a scenario, and I'd love to hear how the rest of the board would do that. So somebody is doing a job right now in one of these roles that's due to be reappointed, and then let's say there is one already, or somebody puts in one for a talent bank, and so would you re-interview both?
I think so.
Right?
I don't think anybody should have ownership over an appointed position. I think it would be nice to always look at them as opportunities for increased participation, and likely there won't be, because sadly,
Right.
participation's low, but it could be low because we don't offer the opportunity for participation through awareness that there's, I mean, it's a two-way street, so it might be so low because it is often restrictive and feels closed. And so if we verbalize it differently and make it feel open, then we might see better results.
Yeah, I don't think that there are people, busting down the doors, unfortunately, banging, for the opportunity to volunteer. And I certainly don't want to make it seem as if we're not supportive to the people who do, like us, selflessly give their time to support our town. But I also think that, a position, if the requirement for it to be appointed would suggest that it's reviewed and that it's not an automatic kind of, lifetime judgeship. So I would think that we would want to advertise as a vacancy. And for the people who are going to be reappointed or who are requesting to stay in their roles, for them to just request that.
Sure, and the items under the jurisdiction of the appointed boards, there's quite a lot of power there, Conservation Commission, et cetera. And so having it feel more opened and make people aware, I think of things that have come up like Rob's Hill and whatnot. There may be people out there who really would want to participate, and they just need to sort of have that little moment where they see that they can.
Yeah.
I think it's tricky, though, because you can really offend the people that are in the position if you don't do it very carefully. I mean, we do not have enough volunteers as it is. And, just thinking about the Conservation Commission, their meetings, they meet twice a month. They don't get over till 11 o'clock. They go out 2 Saturday mornings a month to do site walks. I mean, they give a great deal of their time to the community. And I don't want the Board of Selectmen to offend them or any appointed board by them misinterpreting what, it's happened before. We've offended people before. We need to learn from that and make sure we're not offending people now.
I mean, I don't get offended when I have to run for re-election. I mean, it's something.
But you recall when we really offended an entire board.
I do.
All right, so.
Yeah, but to be fair.
I'm just saying that,
To be fair,
it happened.
elections, to use your example, elections are not, they're mandated, first of all, and they involve a big swath of people who could be involved in the decision. It doesn't involve 5 people, and it's not person to person. So I agree with Phyllis that it's delicate. I'm not against doing it. I would say that we don't want to advertise them as vacant. They are clearly not vacant. They are due for reappointment.
Right.
That's what we want to say, because they're not vacant, and that would really
Yeah,
turn
vacant's
people off.
definitely the wrong word.
But I'm for trying it. I think Phyllis is right, and that was what my comment was cautioning toward. But if done properly, certainly you could do it. You could replace somebody with somebody else. If you don't, if there comes to be a time where a lot of people come forward, and we as a board decide to keep reappointing the person who's in there, that also, you run the risk of turning people off. It's like, why do you keep advertising it if you keep appointing the same people?
Right.
So the whole appointment process is very tricky, and it's not as clear cut. And it's unfortunate, but it's really true, because it involves personalities, and that's just the way of it.
I also
People that
think
are easily offended.
it's an appointment of the board, and each year it's a different board. So I think to have a process where the board is truly involved in the appointment makes sense, because that, and, in terms of somebody being reappointed again and again, well, that's by a group of different people. So if it's done again and again by a different group of people, then there's probably a really good reason that person is keeping their role. I think one of the most important things we've come across in the discussion is that we don't know if we have talent bank forms for anything. We should know. And that should be sort of a part of this stepwise process where every year we come to this point. We should have a list in front of us as we prepare for what would have been next week's meeting of any potential people who have shown interest we don't know. That's something we should know. And then we should also have in front of us the list of people up for reappointment. And that should exist maybe in like a graph where we already know, oh, there's 2 people interested in this. We should have that. And that could be our goal for next year. A goal.
And I will also add to that, I've been sitting here now for 40 minutes, and I unfortunately don't know most of the people who sit on all the boards. So I think as knowing and the role that I'm sitting in as a selectman of the town of Lunenburg, I don't know if I'm qualified to appoint someone without at least getting some information first. And there's so many boards it's a lot of work. If we can simplify that and just say, hey, if you're up for it, just a little summary here, I think that'd be really helpful.
So would everyone be open to putting this topic on our June 4th agenda?
Yes.
So that we can establish what we want to do and then probably do it on June 18th, the reappointments?
Well, yeah, I think we're gonna have to do a light version of the modifications we want to make to the process this year because we don't have a lot of time to pull it off.
Yeah.
I think we can
It could be
definitely
a
hammer it
goal.
out for next year to make sure we, like you said, make it a goal or just something to keep on the radar that it does need to be a better process, I think. I don't think there's enough time to pull it off,
And I would
tailor it
invite,
and pull it off this year, but
and I would invite anybody on an appointed board to send us send us an email with their input on this whole process, if anybody's tuning in. What do
That'd be
you
excellent.
think?
Sure, yeah, so if we put it on the agenda for June 4th, and maybe on that date, we can have any information on talent bank forms and the list of people up for reappointment, so that, like Damon said, we can't maybe make it perfect this year, but put a little bit of effort into the process. Because last year, we were just like, okay, we at the meeting, we just did the reappointments, but said how it felt like we should have done more, so.
Okay. Next, so another thing in June, like I mentioned before, the special event permit will be back before the board, and I'm Bernie, will be back before the board. And Attorney Goss,
Will we get that ahead of time?
yes.
Because they're still doing updates, they're changing it still?
The amendment to the Excel contract will also happen in June. The bag fees for the pay-as-you-throw program, that will occur in June as well. Appointment of a building committee for the engineering and design for the TC Passios. That would be a topic for June as well. We talked about a goal-setting workshop for our June meeting. And the last 2 years, we've done, for the July workshop, a review of all the Board of Selectmen's policies. So I would recommend that we keep with that tradition as well and do this on an annual basis. And another topic, next steps for the animal control facility, now that we have that feasibility and design back and estimated cost.
I'd like to see if we can add to that topic after the last few weeks with town manager evaluation. I think we should put that as a topic because we need to do that sooner than later and reevaluate how we do it and what works. Because this has been an ongoing thing. It wasn't just this year. It's been an ongoing thing for many years. And I really think we should just get it down where we know well in advance how we're going to do this, and that everybody, especially the town manager, is very clear on how the process works. So the earlier we can get that done, the better.
No, I agree.
That's a great idea.
okay. Were you looking for any feedback on us, from us for dates? or
No,
you
just
can
kind
put
of a
that
heads
together?
up, you know.
And I'd like to put something on the agenda coming up that, we've been very happy with our town council so far, I think the new town council. And I was wondering if we might consider looking at labor council in the same way. Is it time to make a change there? Could we save money? I do know that Mead, Tallerman, and Costa have personnel that handles labor law. Maybe it would be cheaper if we combined it. I think it's a good thing to go out to bid.
I think that's absolutely worth exploring.
I would agree if we haven't done it in a while.
I think when we made the change, we decided just to make that one change and not to deal with the Labor Council at all at that point.
Okay.
Well, our next item would be to look at the MPO representative and Finance Committee appointing committee positions. Because those are the positions that Jamie had held.
Yes.
Well, I would offer to be on the Finance Committee Appointment Committee, although with the appointments now, I don't think it's going to be very active, but I'll put myself there. I'd offer that.
And
Do
anybody
you want
like
me to make a motion?
to make a motion in that direction?
I'll make a motion to appoint Tom Alonso to be on the Finance Committee Appointing Committee.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
As far as MPO goes, I know the meetings were at 1 p.m. And so even though I was, have been the MRPC representative, I'm not able to take a 1 p.m. time slot monthly meeting.
Okay.
So I won't be able to do
I'm the
that.
same. I can't because
It's a
of my,
tough time.
well,
Yeah.
working a
Yeah.
regular job, I can't do a 1 o'clock meeting.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Are you available at all, Phyllis?
And does it have to be a selectman would be my question. Can we appoint somebody?
I've been going to the meetings that Jamie's wasn't able to make. So if you want to appoint a
But I mean-
selectman and then I could,
But I mean, can we
Make a
appoint someone
like a
who's,
per-
an
I think we had this discussion last year. Yeah. I think the.
I don't believe
the
it has to
respon-
be. I think-
The response was it had to be a selectman, but the alternate could be the one that
Oh,
goes
okay.
to the
Okay.
meetings.
Oh, okay, so we can try to dig up an alternate and then.
No, I was the alternate. Yeah.
The primary alternate.
Yeah.
Are you still able to do that, or do we need to find?
With an intro like that, I can't
yeah,
believe we
they're-
won't fill that.
Yeah,
Once a month.
right.
They're once a month in their quick meetings. I mean, they're very
Where are they
structured.
located?
They're right at MRPC.
It's
In,
at the Doyle Center, isn't it?
Yes, the Doyle Center.
okay.
And what day of the
is
week?
it?
Wednesdays at 1 p.m. once a month.
What day, which Wednesday in the month?
It was last week. So
And how long do they usually last?
An hour.
What?
An hour.
All right, I'll go.
Oh, thank you. I would, do we have to?
Thank you.
Well, you know what, I'll offer myself as an alternate too. If it's just an hour and it's just at Doyle Center, on those times when Phyllis may not be able to go, I can try to go. I'll just do it during my lunch hour.
Bring your lunch.
Okay, so then I'll nominate Phyllis as our MPO representative with Tom as the alternate member, where Heather can go as well if she wants to.
Oh, that's right, because I went to one and they said that Paula was like the only select person that went. So they do often have somebody who's not a selectman going.
I'll
Is there a-
second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any minutes, warrants, or action file issues? Nope.
Let's see. This warrant.
The warrant for accounts payable in the amount of $271,057.28.
March 12th.
And minutes from the March 12th, 2019 meeting.
I have an action item that maybe we discuss, maybe it's a goal. I feel a little redundant, but a part of me has always desired to move our meetings to a different location, something with better accessibility. I personally don't like being on stage when people come to us, and I know employee in town had to go before the State House. And there, when you come up to the gate and you're at the podium, everybody's actually sitting lower than the person speaking. And so the environment in here, I feel like we literally talk down. It's a difficult space to come into. And so we have every Tuesday night that we meet, other spaces and other buildings that are more compliant with better parking. And so even if it's just to discuss it again, I'd love to have on the agenda. I mean, we've hosted our own meetings in the collaborative rooms in the middle high school, where there's all smart technology. There's not extension cords on the ground. And so I really, I mean, it's super redundant to bring it up again, but I think we have superior spaces that we could be meeting at, and I'd like to look at those. We have had a charter meeting live broadcast from the collaborative rooms. So I know when I spoke about this as a citizen a couple years ago, one of the main concerns was being able to handle live broadcast. And we have had a meeting live broadcasted from a collaborative room. So I think all the hurdles can be met, and we can be meeting someplace that has better parking and better access. So I'd like to put that on as something to discuss and even try it out and see what it feels like. And see if, as part of, to me, I mean, we're not setting our goals, but it's always been communication and things. And I think the environment in here wasn't comfortable for me as a citizen. It's kind of uncomfortable as a selectman when people approach us, and see if we can sort of brainstorm on if there's a better place we could be meeting.
I think that'd be a great discussion, Ms. Adams. I think it's, it's kind of like, one thing that keeps coming up around town is whenever I drive through the center, I can't help but notice the old primary school, and it reminds me of us building a new school and not having a plan for the old one. I think that, we have a space here that, in my opinion, is very clearly inadequate for the needs of our community. I think that before we vacate it, that we should have a solid plan for what we're going to, what this new space will be. But I do agree overall that, there is a problem here, in my opinion, and I think that it needs to be addressed. Of course, I think it needs to be addressed comprehensively, but I think it needs to be addressed. And I think that should be a good discussion, perhaps, for an agenda for next meeting.
Sure, next meeting seemed a little full, maybe not that. A meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be July. I've been saying the same thing for 2.5 years, so I can keep it up another couple months.
I'm sure you can.
Thank you.
Okay, was that the only action file issue? Any committee reports?
I have one. The Stormwater Task Force meets this Thursday. On behalf of the task force, I attended an EPA webinar on May 14th, which highlighted a stormwater utility created by the town of Ashland that passed at town meeting in November of 2018. It was a roadmap of sorts on how a community can work together for the benefit of all. The chair of the Ashland Stormwater Advisory Committee has offered to come to talk to us and help us understand their process. At this moment, Rob St. Germain, who's the Ashland Stormwater Advisory Committee chair, is planning to attend the June 13th Stormwater Task Force meeting. As I have mentioned, Lunenburg is planning to spend about $600,000 over the next 5 years for engineering consulting to comply with the requirements of the MS4, which is the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permit. This 5-year window is just the planning phase of the EPA's MS4 permit. It's not a may-do, it's a must-do. And the EPA, DEP have leveled hefty fines for communities that have not complied. The Select Board needs to get involved with figuring out how we're going to afford compliance.
What are your suggestions?
It's no department report.
Ashland has created a stormwater utility, and it's, some people call it a rain tax, but it's something that all entities in the community pay. In some communities, households pay $40, and then places like Walmart pay an amount based on the amount of impervious surface they have, roofs, parking lots, the churches pay, the town buildings also pay, everyone contributes, and it's a dedicated fund that helps with complying with these new stormwater regulations. And, it's onerous, but what happens today is when it rains, all of everything that's on the roads gets sent down the storm drains and dumped right into our lakes and ponds. And they're becoming more polluted all the time. So it's something that we really have to get a handle on.
And you said Ashland would meet with us?
The chair of, right now, he offered, after the webinar, I reached out and said, hey, great, can you send me your slideshow presentation? And he said, better yet, I'll come and talk to you. So we're meeting with the Stormwater Task Force this Thursday, and I tentatively set Rob up to meet with the Stormwater Task Force the following month, but, maybe he could come to a Board of Selectmen meeting instead. We're just really discussing. It was great that he was, Ashland is keeping, the DPW has a lot to do with it, of course, but Ashland is keeping a stormwater advisory committee to kind of make sure compliance happens. And so it's a two-pronged approach. He said their DPW director got religion and said instead of thinking about it as a problem, thought about it as an opportunity to clean up the waters in Ashland.
Do you think the Stormwater Task Force could do a presentation to the selectmen just so that
I'm sure we
we
could.
sort of kick off that as something that we don't just say we need to do?
Oh, right.
Start doing.
It's not an easy sell. I mean, Ashland made a big presentation to a town meeting a year before they came forward with I think it's in Ashland, some communities have different levels of, charges for households. They just said every household, I think it's $35 or $40 a year, and then there are a couple of tiers. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can do it within the budget and not go outside the budget at all. It's just, it's a big number, and it's not going to get smaller, because once we get through the 5-year planning phase, then we have to get into the 5-10-year implementation phase. And so there's a lot of structure. A lot of things have to happen.
You said they're presenting this Thursday?
No, we have a Stormwater Task Force meeting this Thursday, and when Rob Germain, St. Germain of Ashland said, hey, I'll meet with you, I said, well, what about our June meeting? But we're going to discuss this Thursday, and, maybe there's a better opportunity, maybe to have him come to the board instead, or, we'll just want to kick it around.
Yeah, I don't want to step on their toes, but whatever their recommendation is, I would support. If the presentation should be to them or to us.
Okay.
And I'd be interested in hearing about the topic. The only way I'd be interested in it if it was proposed in a way where it's not just a flat tax for people, because if it's a $40 fee for everybody, you're just essentially raising everyone's taxes $40.
Yep.
If it were somehow maybe incentive based, like you could reduce that number if you did these positive things like pervious
Yep.
paving or rain barrels or whatever.
And in some communities, I think Northampton has just a very complicated scheme that you can get credit for different things. And, what you could do is, let's say, we need, what's a 0.5% taxes? Is it about $120,000? Like we raise the taxes 2.5%, right? Mm-hmm. So how much is a 0.5% worth in dollars? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so let's.
You raise taxes
if you take
half
the
a
value
percent,
of
how much
an
revenue
average
would you
house,
generate?
you're talking about?
No, I'm just talking, go ahead.
If you raise taxes at 0.5%, she's saying, how much more revenue would you generate, given our current revenue generation?
Probably a couple $100,000.
Okay, so let's say next year, we only raise taxes 2%, but we take that 0.5% and we take it, now it's paying for stormwater and it's in the DPW's budget. We take it out of the DPW budget and we put it over here, and it's the first year of the stormwater utility. So you haven't raised anybody's taxes, you haven't changed anything, you just move money from in the budget to this separate area. And then going forward, you impose the fee the next year, but you forever saved people that 0.5%. So you're not hitting people two ways.
Well, what I would say is two things. First of all, I think we're having an in-depth conversation about something on an action item that probably is well beyond what we should be having here, because we need all the details. And second, just as an aside to your comment, you don't take 0.5% out of a budget and put it somewhere and think that nothing else will be affected, because, of course,
But I mean,
that's-
it's in the DPW budget anyway, so just move it.
Yeah, but then it's taking away stuff. It's like that dollar amount nothing's being done with it now, you're indicating.
No,
You're adding $200,000 to the budget by taking $200,000 out of the budget and doing something else, but there's still going to leave a hole with whatever was covered by that $200,000.
I think it's a topic that needs to be an
Right.
agenda item.
We're getting a little weedy.
Too much to hammer out now.
That's what I said. I mean, it really needs to be an agenda item. And I think it's an in-depth discussion, and we need to know a lot of strategies that people are coming with, because it is a big number, and a lot of towns every town is facing it, so we really just
Right.
need to know what other people are doing.
I think working on stormwater could be a goal. One thing when I'm thinking about goals, we've had very vague goals for years, and that leaves us maybe not really accomplishing, but sort of floating. And if we set a goal, like having a stormwater plan in place, then that's a goal we could actually achieve, and now we have something to put on our agendas and work on. So that might
More
be
concrete.
That might be a goal of ours, having a stormwater.
And if it's
We
not a
can-
goal, then we can at
discuss
least,
it when we talk about goals, we can discuss it, sure.
or if it doesn't make the goal level, it could at least make a workshop with the stormwater task force level.
I agree.
Great.
Sounds like a great idea, Phyllis.
All right. So that concludes all our current business. The upcoming meeting schedule is June 4th, June 11th would be the workshop on goals, and June 18th.
Do you want to put on the next meeting agenda if we're going to have a summer schedule or not, like we did last year? I think we went to...
How long
We
did
didn't
Senate
go to
recess
the-
for? We'll take a couple months off.
I mean, like an abbreviated schedule for like July and August, is that what you're referring to?
I don't remember that we did that last year.
I think that's a great idea, though. I think it's,
If
if
the
high
workload
vacation
warrants it,
time.
I mean, I don't want to.
Right.
I don't know if you wanted it as a topic of discussion.
Sure, we can add it as a topic of discussion.
Right.
Or you can, I think in the past, we've given our weeks we know we're going to be away, we've given those to Elaine so she can
Yes.
kind of figure things out ahead of time.
Yes, we have done that.
All right, is there any, before we leave, any public comment from the public? Mr. Rogers? Temporary chairman.
That was the word I missed before. I thought about it afterwards, so thank you for saying that.
My name is Dave Rogers. I live at 82 Highland Street. I have three things I'd like to bring before this board. The first of which is you folks know so much about the abbreviated names for the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, MRPC, but there are folks at home haven't got a clue about what you're talking about. I don't know what the MOP is.
MPO.
M what?
MPO.
See, I can't even say it. Yeah, what's that?
Montechusett Planning
Planning,
Organization.
Okay, that type of thing. So it really would be helpful to take a couple of minutes and explain, this is what we're talking about for the folks out there. The other thing, and Heather, you and your team work so hard to do this, but to be honest with you, as I always try to be, we need to do something better, and that is the presentation that you put on TV of all the budget things. When you have the graphs and all of those things. I realize that I'm getting old and my eyesight is not what it should be. I can't see it at home. I cannot see it. So my suggestion is, rather than having 6 years or 4 years, have 2 years and blow them up so that we could see them.
okay? And if somebody wanted to get more detailed information, they could go to a site or something and get it. But it's very frustrating because I know how hard you work on these things, and so those are two near-term things that I think that we could do. Midterm things that I think that we need to do, and it's really a pet peeve of mine, and that is this gas station. Would you please do something about that gas station? Even if it's to get three people whose qualities you respect and abilities you respect, and have them go off and get all the information so that you can come back. And I don't mean that you should do it, but we need to solve that problem, okay? The midterm kind of thing I think that we need to do as a community is to really address the Passios, Town Hall, and all of the real estate things. And please, 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 don't come forth with a program that is not all-encompassing, that will at least give me an idea of what it's going to cost me, okay? Because I just will not buy it, and very frankly, I'll work very hard to defeat it if we don't have those numbers that I can work on. Because I've got to know. I truly have to know what it's going to cost me, because I don't want to create something over there and leave two buildings that are right in the center of town that are vacant. That doesn't make any good common sense to me. So please do that. The other thing that really concerns me long-term is the proposed, soon-to-be acted upon development in north of town at the Aero Farm. Okay? There are approximately 120 houses that are planned for that area, 3 and 4 bedroom units. 20% of them, I'm told, will be
Age restricted.
thank you. See? Thank you. Age restrictive, right? So that they probably won't have, many kids, okay? But think about that for a moment, and think about the impact that this is going to have on our community, okay? So we really have to plan about what would happen if this were to happen and these number of kids were here, okay? The other thing is I was flabbergasted because I forgot all about it. But in the Whalum section, there is that 40B project that has been approved, okay? And I don't remember the specificity of how many units, but it's a lot of units. So when you combine that project and the north part of town, you're talking a lot of housing, a lot of exposure, a lot of things to consider. So in terms of near-term, mid-term, and long-term, we have 3 major things. If you did nothing else, those are 3 things that are just unbelievable that we've got to do. And I think that in terms of goals and objectives, they are very, very important. And when I hear $120,000 that we're going to be spending for the next 5 years, $600,000 for storm water, I mean, where is this coming from? We've really got to get our arms around this whole financial thing. And I know that Karen Brochu came here last meeting and said that we had a good year and we're in good shape, and I believe that because she's very, very capable and your staff is very capable. But you know what? I'm looking down the barrel of some things that scares the bejesus out of me. It really does, okay? Not to mention the fire department, the police department, it just goes on ad nauseum, okay? So I think that you've got a lot of things to do, but we've got to really classify them, we really have to focus on them, and we really have to pay attention to them, because they're things that will come back that will be, really detrimental to our nice little town. The last thing I'd like to say is that I'm not going to bring up things in the past. I'm going to look forward. And I will tell you that individually, your 5, 6, 7 people, all the people that we have in the folks downstairs are just really, really creative people, and they do a really good job. That's the good news. The bad news is that together, we've not worked well as various boards, and we have got to. We've got to work together. And I just want to bring this out, and I don't mean this to one person, it's the whole board, okay? If there's one issue that each of you talk 10 minutes about, there goes an hour. Multiply that times 5 things. You're here till midnight, okay? I mean, so, you know, we got to cut to the chase, you know, and get this stuff done. Because if we don't, it's going to be, you know, we're going to be spinning our wheels and going to be very, very frustrated. And I know that we can do better. We've got to do better. And I wish you all well. And I know that each of you can do it because you're very intelligent people. And now it's up to you to show us what you can do, okay? Thank you for your time. Thank you for volunteering. But most of all, thanks for listening to me again.
Always nice to have you, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a
Good pep
question?
talk.
Mr. Rogers, if you don't mind, you know, you brought up a lot of good points and a lot of stuff for us to consider. I just have a generalized question for you.
Sure.
When we look at population growth across the state of Massachusetts,
Yes.
if the state is growing at a rate of 5% a year,
Yes.
as a hypothetical,
Sure.
where would you like to see our town grow at? 5%, 4%, 6%? Proportionate to state growth.
Boy, that's a really good question, Michael, and I'm afraid I don't have the answer to it because something other than what I think and what this board thinks, the market is going to tell us. The market will tell us where we're going to go, okay? And that's the short answer to a very complex question. But I'm sorry I can't answer it, but that's where I'm at. The market's going to tell us. And to that point, I would encourage you to look at the Sunday Globe if you don't already, and the real estate section, and they have, you know, really interesting articles about stuff that's coming out from Boston on the other side of 128 and 495. The prices are unbelievable. So in terms of value, oh my God, and in terms of railway access, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you know, this is a pretty good area. So, but the short answer is market will tell you, I think.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Do I pass the course? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Any other public comment from the public? Mr. Passios?
Dave Passios, 56 Whiting Street. This is more of a question as to anybody up on the stage having the knowledge as to how the Parks Commission, once the town meeting votes have been certified by the AG's office, how the Parks Commission will be brought up to 5 members. Does anybody here know that process?
Once it goes to the legislature for approval?
Well, once all the votes from town meeting have to be certified by the AG's office, so nothing can be done with anything that was decided there before that time, if I'm correct. Okay, and then my question is, once that happens, what is the process going to be to bring the Parks Commission from 3 members up to 5 members? What's the timeline going to be, and how's it going to be accomplished? I don't need an answer tonight if there isn't a clear answer, but I'd like to make sure that everybody's working on knowing what the process is so we don't miss opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Passios.
Any other public comment?
I'd like to invite everybody down for some fruit.
Any board comment before we adjourn?
I want to make it just, my comment is, I think that tonight is a reflection of what we can do going forward. I think that we can, you know, put some differences in the past And I think that, as Mr. Rada suggested, I think we can get to the point and help move forward. And I hope that tonight has been for our town, people at home, and for one another, a clear example of how we can work together.
Thanks.
Two things. So first, I want to thank all the points from the board and from the public about things that we need to approach. I have a bullet item list of major things of about 7. So we're really going to have to really focus on each one, and probably several in parallel at the same time. In order to do that, all of us have to be prepared when we come to the meetings. We need to engage other boards and other professionals when we need to. But, it can be done. Is all going to be done in 1 year? Probably not. But we need to really make big strides on all of these things. Second, a singular item that I brought out right after the town meeting from the podium, and I will say it as a selectman now, I don't want it to be pushed aside or forgotten that we really need a report from the investigation of what happened with the town ballot. So I don't want that to go away. I think it's owed to the public. And lastly, a comment or a re-announcement for people who may not have heard it at the beginning, but next Monday is the Memorial Day service at Veterans Park. If people are tuning in now, 10 a.m. at Veterans Park across from the Eagle House, rain or shine.
Okay. I have a comment. I just wanted to give our condolences to the friends and family of Paul Doherty. He served on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I know that was a very happy board, and they had a lot of good rapport, and they were more than just a board. His death was sort of sudden and unexpected. They have their first meeting tomorrow night since that has occurred. And so I just wanted to say that I'm thinking of them, but of everybody, and of Paul, and thank you to him for his service and for engaging so much in town. And so that's all.
Thanks. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everybody.